Welcome to Time to Press Pause, a podcast for CEOs by CEOs. I'm your host, Ellen Williams, CEO of The Salient Strategist, and today I'm speaking with DC Glenn. DC Glenn is a multi-platinum selling hip-hop artist as half of the 90s hip-hop duo Tag Team, who has one of the biggest records in recorded history. Whoop, there it is. Also known as the Brain Supreme, he is a music industry, acting, and voiceover expert, and well-versed in SEO, public relations, and marketing. DC is also the CEO at CLG Investments, Inc. Welcome, DC Glenn. I'm so happy to have you here. I've really been looking forward to meeting you and recording this episode.
Thanks so much for having me.
In addition to your hip-hop fame, you are also a CEO, and this is all about CEOs. And I'm going to throw it to you and simply ask you to give us a story of when you needed to press pause.
A story when I've needed to press pause. It's every day.
Every day.
Every day, because it is relentless, right? Like everything is about mindset, right? So for me, this all started because of Whoop, There It Is. Because of the trials and tribulations and the trauma that I've had to go through with this song, right? Like being in a 20-year legal battle over the rights of the song. Well, I could have became an old bitter rapper, or I could have just had that mindset, which I do, of everything, is that I just vow that it'll never happen again. And I will educate myself to the highest level and learning how to do it. So, back in the late 90s, I basically became a paralegal, right? Because that's what I'm good at. They call me the Brain Supreme. They call me DC, the Brain Supreme, for a reason, because I figure things out. And when you figure things out as well as I do, you tend to press pause a lot because you have to think differently. You have to think backwards. You have to reverse engineer. There's several tactics that I've developed over the years to help me be able to press pause when I need to, right? And, another thing that I do, I'm not going to let people take advantage of my money. So I became a licensed commodities broker. My goal was just to learn finance, right? So I could understand the language of finance, but I ended up being a licensed commodities broker, right? So, fast forward, me going through life, I end up learning, being in a situation where I had to learn SEO because Tag Team had no presence. Things had dried up. Well, how do I keep myself relevant, right? So I had to learn how to digitally market myself. And the problem with artists and stars is that they expect everybody to do things for them. And that is not my situation. My situation is I'm going to learn it, then build my team because I can teach my team the way I need it to be, right? So the original question is, when is a time when you've had to press pause? And I think the biggest time was after we had prevailed in our legal battle in like 2017. And it was kind of like, when you go to war, you're going to come back missing a leg, missing an arm, eye patch, but you're still living. And it's almost like the dog catching the car. What do I do with this car now? And I could tell you I had to press pause for about a month. And because, just had to figure out what am I going to do? And it ended up being voiceover, right? Because I've been training for voiceover since 2009. So I ended up getting an agent for voiceover. That agent wanted me for acting. Thus, I became an actor. And now I'm like, wait a minute, let me figure out some other things. So I started joining organizations, because organizations are filled with people who have been loving their profession for 10, 20, 30, 40 years and can't wait to tell you. So now I get to bridge that gap of intellectual prowess by meeting the people who lead the industry and want to teach me. right? And they don't even know who I am. That's my advantage because I don't act like a star. And because I don't act like a star, once I tell them who I am, it's icing on the cake. And that's how I get my knowledge. And, on an everyday practical level, when I have to, pause and press play, I always keep a list in front of me. You see this? That's a list, pages of things to do, pages of things to do. It could be from the simplest task to the most mundane task because you're always going crazy with thoughts in your head. If you don't write them down, they don't get done. So there are days when I get frustrated because it feels like I'm not doing anything. When I look back on the day and I realize I've done a lot. That's mental gymnastics that I have to play with myself. But when I take my pause, go to the list, I start at the top and I say, do one thing. Now do the next thing. Now it might not have nothing to do with what I was just doing, but the fact that I'm going knocking off pieces of my list that in my discombobulated life, which is combobulated, by the way, because of this list, I'm able to accomplish a whole bunch of things without even having to think about it. And as I get older, I watch my peers and I watch people not write down things. And I think that's what gets people stuck, right? Just a simple pen and paper. If you think it, write it down. If it's an idea, whatever, write it down. And because I do that, I can handle all the strands that I call it my big ball of focus. Because I get opportunities all the time, but does it fit in my big ball of focus? And I have to say no to a lot. So I can honestly say that me having this list in front of me 24/7 is my saving grace because I'm always getting things done. And I think that's the key. And it kind of, it alleviates the stress and the pressure on your mind. But I've got a lot of stress and pressure because it could be one little thing like a software that I need to do a whole bunch of things doesn't work. And support is not giving me any help. They don't know. And I'm just like, well, why are you trying to sell me the software? Right. And it's just, and then I'm in a course to use, and they use that software. So now this course for me to do all these things that can make me a lot of money. Now I'm stuck. Right. So I had to take a breath and just figure out a way. What is the best way to figure this out? And that's how I do things from a day-to-day basis. So as a CEO, I mean, you have to worry about, accounting. You have to worry. I do my own bookkeeping, right? I seriously, because I get to see my money. And when you get to see your money and you get to see those line items and you're like, why did I spend money on that? What is that? We all have recurring accounts, which, wait a minute, I don't even use that. Why am I spending that $29.99 a month, right? Now that seems like little, but it all adds up, kind of like interest, right? People don't see the interest on their principal, right? So they're thinking they're paying down on their principal, but they're paying interest. So they stay the same. You're giving money to the bank. All these little things that we go through in our daily lives gives us pause to stop and reevaluate. And if you can't see those things, then you're in trouble. I like to say, I thrive in the bizarre world. Most people don't know what that is, right? But people of my age know that that's Superman's arch nemesis. And you got Bizarro Land, and it's all totally upside down to what the regular world is. But then when I talk to young people, I say I thrive in the upside down because of Stranger Things, right? So I, me doing podcast every day has turned into me being a motivational speaker. This started out as just interviews 10 years ago. People wanted to interview me, and then all of a sudden, we have not talked about Whoop, there it is. 2%, but 2% of this conversation. But Whoop, there it is the catalyst to everything that I've learned to make me who I am today.
That's heavy. That was okay. I'm going to unpack a lot of what you said. So, first of all, pause every day. I've definitely heard that before. I think that there's a lot of value to that as well. But I think your bigger pause and what I heard that comes out of your pauses is lifelong learning. You said, you don't want to make that mistake again. So, okay, it happened. And how do I move past that? And how do I learn from it so that I don't make the same mistakes and I can move forward?
Here's what I tell people. Until you can be honest with yourself, you have to take responsibility as a grown ass man. I signed that contract. I have to take I could have became an old bitter rapper, but I signed that contract. I took responsibility for it. It's painful every day because I have to sequester it in the back of my head. But that's ego and pride. And over these years, I've been able to sequester my ego and kill the pride to where my mind is open to every possibility. I'm not stuck in the past. The past is a reference. The past is a language model. The past is everything that I've been through. That's experience. That experience is a positive thing, right? That
Yeah.
you wouldn't be where you are now if it wasn't for the experience. So now I can take, and I love to learn. I wish I had loved to learn like this when I was younger.
Oh,
Probably,
I totally agree.
but
Totally agree.
I wouldn't have made Womb 30. I would have been an engineer or something, right? So, you know what I'm saying? Our life is our life. And you get one life, and I'm gonna ride it till the wheels fall off. That's why I'm learning that's why I get in organizations. I'm in 30 different organizations. I want to do concerts. Well, get in a concert organization because I want to meet the buyers, not the promoters, not the talent agents. They serve their purpose, but if I can go directly to the person who's gonna pay me, that's my goal. And that's why I started SEO. Everything leads to the other thing, right? It's an intricate web of success. Everything I'm saying is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. I struggle. There are lulls in your life where you're doing good, and then all of a sudden, a year or two might fall off. But the thing of it is, as long as you keep planting seeds, there is always a harvest. And some years might be good, some years might be bad, but every year there's a harvest. So it's how you apply that harvest. When it's really, really good, do you can all those vegetables? So when it's not good, you at least you got something to eat, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All these
The
analogies, all these concepts come from me doing podcasts every day because I'm actually learning more by talking to you, right? So that's
right.
why us conversating with each other is relevant. And this is in a form is my pause for the day.
So being here with me is your pause for the day. I
Pause for
love that. I love that. And I want to go back to something you
yeah.
said.
Mm-hmm.
You said pause and press play.
Yep.
And I like the spin on that. So it's not just taking the pause. It's pause and then press play. What's the next step? What did I learn? What am I going to do now? You started talking about voiceover and then acting and then podcasts and now concerts. It's pause and then press play. And I like that. I think that's relevant. I also love the past is a language model. I mean, talk about exactly what's going on today, right? Artificial
Yeah.
intelligence and the language model. And I think you got to learn from somewhere, and you definitely take those lessons from your
And all it
past.
is history. This is I'm building a language model for tag team now. So that when all these language models are going to converge eventually. So when they converge, when people type in anything about tag team, it will have relevant information instead of those 20-year-old articles that people get, to refer to and then try to say we're doing this and we did this. And it's like that was 20 years ago. This is what we're doing right now. So every year I have a list of accomplishments of things that we've done to always put them in my writing so they become, in bios and stuff like that. Now that's a part of the language model, but because of open AI and all these AI entities, now I can really put all this information and create my legacy in my narrative to the world and live forever, right?
Live forever through AI, but in a good way, not in
In a
the
good way.
creepy
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
science fiction way, right?
Hey, but and I know that any technology that comes out, I'm going to learn it, because what happens is life passes you by. Life doesn't stop, but we stop. All of my people my age have stopped. They've almost given up. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I feel like a brand new baby. But that's because my parents raised me to work. As a grown man, I have not known work. So I don't mind putting in the work. And I want it to be difficult because I know nobody else is going to do it. That's the beauty of it, right? Nobody else is going to do what I'm doing. Now, comes at a cost, because you're going to become a hermit. You're going to lose friends. People think you don't want to play with them anymore. And it's not that. It's like, I've taken a responsibility to provide for everybody, because that's the only way it's going to happen. So I put everything on my back, and I just trudge forward. I don't even think about, I play offense. I'm always moving forward, and I'm always learning. After I finish this, I have a mastermind. I got a mastermind tomorrow on how to make courses, right? Because I'm building a course to help people learn.
Of
But
course, to help people learn.
Yeah, you have to meet people where they're at, though. That's why I love doing podcasts, because I know how to talk to people where they're at, right? Not talk to people condescendingly or, judging. I'm like, I know where you're at in your life, and I know how to talk to you about it because I was there. Once again, that's how experience and the tragedy of your life comes back to help you help others. And my motto is, I give what I want first, and I'm always blessed.
Well, I couldn't imagine a better way to wrap up a podcast than by having someone say, I'm always blessed. So I'm blessed to have you here with me today. I really appreciate everything you shared.
And I want to thank you for letting me come on here and run my mouth, because I learned more from talking. And I've learned 5 things today that I'm about to get off this podcast and go.
Write them down. Write them down.
Yes, exactly. So I bid you adieu, and I appreciate you having me on your show.
I thank you very much for being here and loved everything that you had to share with me. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Time to Press Pause. To learn more about DC Glenn, go to tagteambackagain.com. To learn more about me, go to thesalientstrategist.com. And be sure to join us again wherever you listen to your podcasts.